A little bit of a change of atmosphere. We're at the warehouse here, so I just wanted to quickly drop in and talk about the 90-day tariff pause. Obviously, at a surface level, everyone's excited about it, and it could be good news overall. But we have to recognize there's more details to this. One, there's a deadline to it with either China or other countries, of course. But two, there's also more intricacies or details to be aware of. Personally, I think it's going to last longer than 90 days. I think that this is a long-term deal and hopefully a long-term plan. But either way, we're preparing for all the outcomes and we're looking at how things are going to go generally. My name is Jess Mesa, CEO and founder of Voadera. We've been on our marketplaces for over a decade and we've sold over $100 million. In this video, I'm going to explain the deal that we just made with China, what the tariffs actually mean because a lot of people have misconceptions about it, what we're doing ourselves to take advantage of this pause, and more importantly, how we're planning long term, because whether we like it or not, volatility is still going to exist. This is a pause. It's not a permanent deal. So we have to prepare ourselves for the long term rather than just the current position. Before we jump into the details of what we're doing, I just wanted to clear up the misconception people have about this deal and explain exactly what's going on. Many people think that the 90-day pause means we go back to how things were normally or before. Actually, that's not the case. So what the deal is basically that there's a 30% on top of what initially existed before, which is the Section 301 basically. Depending on the HS code, it could be, before it was 5 to I think 30%, but then there's an additional 30%. That's what this pause outlines. So keep that in mind. So let's say before you were paying 10% for our products, a lot of them were around 10 to 20%. You have to add 30% on top of that with this 90-day pause. I'm talking specifically about products coming from China. Other countries, I think it was 10% additional. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, obviously, it's not long term, it's 90 days. And keep in mind that 90 days to hit the US customs. So let's say you didn't manufacture yet, that's going to take a few weeks, and then it could take a few weeks to ship, and then maybe getting here. So you really, the timeline isn't that long. Just keep that in mind as you're evaluating this pause. Now that we have this 90-day pause, how are we taking advantage of it? Here's 3 things that we're doing to take advantage of this pause. So the first thing that we're doing is we're ordering extended lines of inventory, so longer periods. So initially, we used to forecast, let's say 3 to 4 months of inventory. Now we change that to order 9 months to a year of inventory. How we're affording that, and I'll get into that at the next point. In the meantime, we're basically putting those orders in. We're planning, obviously, we partnered with 3PLs to store the additional inventory, and we're also talking to our purchasing and forecasting teams to keep that in mind when ordering from products that come internationally and obviously specifically from China. So the second point, how we're affording that additional inventory is we are renegotiating terms. So manufacturers, just like us, they're feeling the volatility. So they're much more cooperative than other, and they're working with us on additional payment terms. So this is your chance to talk to your manufacturer about payment terms and getting something better. But not only that, also discounted rates. Because we're ordering triple or double what we were ordering before, we can, the order quantity is obviously higher. That's helping us get more inventory. So that's one thing that we're focusing on. We're renegotiating terms, not just with our manufacturers, but even 3PLs here. We're telling them that the tariffs are hurting our margin. We would like you to work with us. And many of them are very cooperative. They obviously want to be competitive. They're getting less inbound. And even the freight companies, they're getting less volume, so they're working with us to ship that. Well, not only are they getting less supply, but we're also offering them high volumes because we're ordering so much. So we're kind of taking advantage of that position to get extended terms, to get better pricing across the board, not just from the manufacturer. And then the third thing we're doing is obviously accelerating logistics. We've worked with dozens of vendors to bring our products from many different places. We're paying a little bit premium to go with the faster options. One, we did pause a lot of ordering in the last 3 months because the tariffs were so expensive we couldn't afford the products. So while they were paused, we're running out very low on stock and some stuff. So in return, we're obviously just choosing the most accelerated logistics options and going with them accordingly. What to expect now that there's a 90-day pause? Here's a few things that we're dealing with. Obviously, factories are getting overwhelmed. A lot of people are putting orders in because they paused just like us. We put them in really quickly. We got ahead of the lead lines on a lot of stuff. We have working relationships with them, so they're giving us obviously priority. But also, everything is going to get congested. The supply chain routes are going to get congested. They're going to try raising prices. We're negotiating very rigorously on this, telling them that basically we can't afford it because we paid for more. So you have to kind of make the business case to the freight forwarders you're working with, but also the ports are getting congested. So we're operating on a first come, first serve basis. That's why we're accelerating logistics. We wanted to bring the inventory not only quickly before we run out of stock on Amazon, but also before a bunch of other people come in, and then the products gets delayed and we have trouble checking them in basically. Long-term strategic moves that we're doing. So I made another video, you can watch it here, about the 7 things we're doing, but I wanted to reiterate the most important ones. We're getting more diversified with our purchasing areas. So we're trying to move manufacturing, obviously, ideally to the country that we're selling in. So if it's in the US, we're moving to the US. If we're selling in Europe, we're moving it to Europe there. So we're still sourcing suppliers very, very aggressively. We're also diversifying our sales channels. So we're trying to sell internationally along with the US and grow those channels as well, of course, because we already sell internationally, but just focus additionally on supplementing those and growing those. And then on top of that, we're reevaluating HS codes. So there's 5 to 30%, as I mentioned initially, that's Section 301 tariffs. We're making sure that we're doing audits continuously, making sure our products falls in the right place, and continuously evaluating that. And most importantly, we're sitting tight. We're not doing any panic moves. We're ours kind of holding tight, losing on margin we can, but we're not doing anything overly aggressive that's going to risk the entire empire for a pot of gold. So I hope that I gave a quick overview on this 90-day tariff pause. Like I said, you have to kind of have a holistic overview. That's what we're trying to do of it. Ensure that we consider all the variables and don't get overly excited or overly obviously depressed. We have to consider it holistically. So if this was helpful, you need more, even if you need more help with your logistics or your 90-day tariff pause, feel free to reach us at Voadera.com to book a call with an expert. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. And even if you have any additional questions, leave them below for a comment and I'll get back to every one of them.